Some people have counters. I don't use counters. I just kind of go like right into the show, and we're right at the beginning. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited that you're joining me today for another episode of when I interview people that I find very interesting. So far, we've had a lot of interesting people. We've had a sitting judge in Ingham County. We've had a sitting doctor in the Quad Cities. We've had the pastor of my church. We've had a professional wrestler and freight broker. And we've had an entrepreneur. But now we're getting someone a little bit different. We're getting somebody who is an expert in sales. And I am excited to bring you my good friend, Abby Hafenbredl. And she'll be on in just a moment. But before we really get into the conversation, I want to start off today's episode with a riddle. I'm going to say the riddle. And at the very end of the episode, I will tell you the answer to the riddle. And the riddle goes like this. The beginning of eternity, the end of time and space, the beginning of every end, every place. What is it? One more time. The beginning of eternity, the end of time and space, the beginning of every end, and the end of every place. What is it? Stay tuned for the answer to the riddle. Now, there's been some really interesting things in the news, and I'll touch on them very briefly. I think Microsoft should probably buy Netflix. Netflix is suffering from a lack of subscribers. They're losing their headcount. They've made a partnership with Microsoft, and that's interesting. I like the idea of streaming video content, and I love the idea of having the ability to bundle that with subscription gaming. The Game Pass with Xbox is phenomenal, better than anything I've ever used. So Microsoft, Netflix, if you're on the date right now, just understand that I would love to buy your bundled service. Elon Musk got sued. Oh, we kind of knew that was coming, didn't we? He said he didn't want to buy Twitter. Twitter says he's going to buy them. They've sued in the Delaware Chancery Court, looking to focus on specific performance. Specific performance is a type of legal outcome where you're asking the court to force something to happen. And what they're asking to be forced to happen is the merger at the price Elon Musk offered. I think we're watching legal textbooks and business textbooks being written in real time. Follow this story. It is absolutely fascinating. So those are some of the interesting things in the news, and then a couple of personal things. I have a law firm. Armchair Attorney is now a law firm. We have moved the business from a consulting organization to a legal practice. I'm very excited for the patience my wife has shown me and all the support from you, the people who follow me. And now, without further ado, I am excited to bring in my very good friend, Abby Hafenbredl. Abby, how are you?
Great. I feel like I should run in like my little...
We'll have some music.
Sports.
I'm not as good as Trey. I'm not as good. He's got all this music and technology. I'm just a guy with the microphone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat.
This is really exciting. So we have some really interesting folks in the audience, and I'll say some quick little folks here. We have John Radvansky. John, you know that I am a huge fan. Michael thinks he has the answer. Ooh, we'll find out. Oh, Jory Myers. I love Jory.
I was just talking to Jory today.
Really? Oh, he's happy to see you. Jory was I was on Jory's program a few weeks, maybe months ago, and I had a chance to meet with him, and he joined my program last time. It was a great thing. Tell me, how did you meet Jory?
So last year I delved deep into Clubhouse. I was a Clubhouse gal. I would spend way too many hours. And me and Grace Sharkey would do little segments, and we met Jory on there. And so I don't remember Jory. Did we do something on Clubhouse as well?
I'm pretty sure you did. I remember hearing some of it. And
yeah.
Lauren Began says hello. We have another, I don't know the name. Tennessee. Well, I'm an idiot. What am I doing?
Tennessee is awesome. She's my new friend, brand new to the industry, and she's killing it at Silo. So shout out Tennessee.
So the industry, that's a great segue. What do you do, Abby?
So I'm in transportation. We are a freight brokerage, soon to be combo brokerage and asset. And we basically are the middleman between like the shipper and the trucks that you guys see on the road, as a very like dumbed down version of
Now,
what we do.
you said something that got me really interested. You said asset. What kind of assets are you guys thinking about doing?
Oh, well, I can't say too much.
Okay,
There's
that's
already
fair.
a deal in motion.
Good.
That should be closed in the next couple of weeks. So we'll have an announcement, but it's going to be mainly dry van and reefer currently.
That's spectacular.
And I think there's I think there's a tanker in there as well.
Oh, tankers are great. John Radvansky is a tanker expert. If you ever have questions on tankers,
Really?
no doubt in my mind, John is the guy to go to. He is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I'll kind of to our audience here, if you're not supply chain folks, and I'm sure many, many of you are, Abby's point's really well taken. Shippers are the folks that make something or are moving, need something moved. So that might be a retailer or manufacturer or distribution house. And in many circumstances, those companies say, I don't understand how trucks work. I don't want to learn about how trailers function. I want to find someone to help do that for me. And so the broker is kind of this relationship manager that kind of bridges the gap from the people who have the trucks and the trailers to the shipper who needs things moved. Is that a kind of a fair characterization?
Yep. Think of us as like a matchmaking service. You know, we manage everything for you. All you need to do is send us our loads, and we will find the carriers and vet them and do all that good stuff, keep track with them, give you updates and all that stuff.
So you're with Sage Freight today. Oh yeah. And I'll plug John because I love John. At any time, John Radvansky, anyone who's in this space, dude knows the stuff. He is phenomenal. Thank you, John.
Awesome.
Thanks, John. How long have you been with Sage Freight now? Since
December of 2021. But I've known all these guys previously. I started in 2016, I want to say, at Calvary Logistics. And so worked under Bob King, David Norman, Luke Davis, all those guys. And then they started Sage last May, started taking loads in October. So we're new, but we're not new. We built Calvary Logistics up to $250 million brokerage.
Wow.
And so we're doing it over our way, where, the right way. So it's fun.
Are you enjoying it so far?
I love it. Yeah. It's been such a big difference having people in the company that actually care about the customers, the carriers. Everybody here is on the same page as far as we all want what's right for the company. We want to be at a point where the employees own 75% of Sage Freight. Wow. So there's a lot of buy-in. Everybody here is super motivated to just be our best selves and treat people the way they should be treated and do a good job at the same time.
Well, I find that fascinating because, like me, I move from role to role, but my relationships are the things that I generally keep with me. And it sounds like you had the opportunity to work with a lot of different organizations. What drove you to say Sage Freight is a place that I want to go? Is it because you knew the leadership initially, or were you looking for something that had a different kind of feel from the other organizations you've been with?
No, it was definitely the people here. I know their work ethic, and I know how they operate, and that's what I wanted to be part of. I think it's really important to go somewhere where you have a purpose and you have a meaning. And we really take pride in focusing on the person and developing our employees and doing a crazy, insane training program and making sure that the people that come here are, want to work here forever. Obviously, that's not going to be the case forever for everybody, but we really want to be a spot where they can develop and learn and try other opportunities within the company and just, build a life with us.
How big is the team now?
So we just moved to a new office.
I've seen that. I look forward to coming and visiting. You guys are outside of Nashville, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. About 15 minutes south of Nashville.
Okay.
So it's pretty exciting. We outgrew our first office way too quickly, which is a good thing. But here we have about 40 people. And then our Pakistan office also has, I think they might be over 40. They might be around 45 right now.
Wow. That's
Mhm.
incredible. That's incredible. Have you regretted the decision at all? Because before we jump on here, we were talking. You lived in River North, not far from where I lived. So many years ago,
Yeah.
I lived in the corner of Wells and Kinsey in River North, next to Merchandise Mart, where I practiced law down there. So how has that transition been from going from River North in Chicago to the Nashville area?
I will say my heart is in
Chicago's the best, isn't
Chicago.
it? Is that what it is?
Ugh,
So can you
I
can
love
say that.
Chicago, and I'm hopefully going to be able to move back up there. We're looking at a potential new office down the
Awesome.
road in somewhere in there, maybe Milwaukee, maybe Chicago. I don't know. We're not sure yet. But all my family's in Wisconsin, so I would love to be able to get a little bit closer to home.
Yeah,
And
I can
Nashville,
understand that.
Nashville is just, I've lived here so long already, and I love bopping around, trying out new cities and new
I, I,
things.
I lasted in River North for 18 months, and I was like, there's so many options for food, and then Grubhub came out. I'm like, I'm just gonna do
Oh,
that
it's bad.
instead. I'll say this: when I was working downtown in 2011, there was a shared office. We used a Regis facility we were working out of, and there was an office for Twitter in the building, and Twitter was relatively new. And I would talk with the developers or the people, the sales, whoever they were there. I'd say, why does it always sound like birds in your office? Because it's so disruptive. And they say, oh, it's a communication social media app. I go, what does it do? And I go, well, it's like you send messages to everybody. Like, who would want that? I have no idea. Well, I can just text somebody. And I had no idea. Now, lo and behold, a decade later, I'm on Twitter with very few followers, but I'm learning. So Chicago is a great experience. I'll say Scott Watanabe has a great quote here. He says, I love how you say the right way because I feel there is a right way to be a broker. What does that mean for you, Abby? What is the right way to be a broker?
I think the term brokers have a stigma because there are some very slimy brokerages that, they'll give customers paper rates. So basically rates that they're not going to be able to honor for the time period that they said they would honor. They'll put the customers' freight on low-level carriers because low-level carriers will give you a better rate, meaning brokers can make a higher margin. Um, the right way, I think, is just having that open, transparent relationship with both your customers and your carriers, and just being very upfront about the services you offer and, the updates and how you vet your carriers, all these things that go into being successful as a brokerage.
That makes sense. I mean, that's the thing about this business. It is all relationship driven. It might be millions of trucks on the road, hundreds of thousands of trucking companies, but your reputation and how you vet, how you carry yourself is something that transcends all of it. So that's great that
Mhm.
you've found this team, and it's great that you guys have a new office. So clearly, your customers are seeing the benefit of what you guys are doing. Now, your role as VP of Sales. What does a VP of Sales do?
Great question. I would love to know. No,
Are you
I'm
out
just kidding.
prospecting? Are you closing big deals? Like, what's the thing about that makes it
Yeah.
so exciting for you?
So for me personally, I'm focusing on a lot of the larger, like we have a top 350 list. So I'm only going after kind of the whales, if you want to say that. And then eventually we'll get a larger team underneath us. We have 4 people on our sales team right now. We'll get a larger team, some more like inside sales reps that will set up calls for us. And then we, in theory, would go help land the business. And then obviously the other part of it is outside traveling and conferences and the part of it I love networking.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about I imagine for brokerage sales, like you're selling to both shippers, I would expect for sure, and then you're also selling to carriers to an extent, I would imagine, saying, okay, I want you to be part of our network. So where is your typical focus? Is it towards the shippers? Is it towards the carriers, or is it a little bit of both?
No, I'm focusing on the shippers. However, I try to make a lot of relationships with carriers. For example, Jory, we're trying to get him set up on some things
Yeah.
because this community of people is so great. And so I have a lot of carriers reach out to me wanting to work with me. And those are the people we want to work with that all have the same mindset. So in those situations, I send them over to our carrier team because we have basically a carrier sales team as well, where they're profiling, prospecting for longer term deals and like dedicated routes and that sort of thing, a lot of drop and hook. And so for those types of opportunities, you need to really find good carriers that basically will sign a contract with you and say, okay, we will take all these loads for the next year, whatever, you know.
Yeah, well, I like what you do in terms of like your method for communication is so varied. So I've been following you on LinkedIn. That's a great platform for these things. But I find that you use posts, you use pictures, you use videos. What has been the creativity behind that? Are you a naturally creative person making content, or what drives you to make the kind of communication stuff that you do?
Well, to be completely honest, when I came on to Sage, we didn't have much of a presence on LinkedIn at all. So my first focus was just getting our name out there and trying to do that as much as I possibly could, because we're new. We're basically a startup, and we need that visibility within the industry. And I have no marketing background, so I just started throwing crap at the wall.
Good for you. Good for you.
Seeing if it would stick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much you can do with taking a picture next to a truck and smiling. That's great marketing. It works super well. About 30 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. But I like how you outline this as a creative process of experimentation. So few companies feel comfortable when people want to experiment in how they communicate, because your ability to sell effectively is how you communicate with that end user, that stakeholder. And if you can make a video or a post that resonates with them, that shows that you share their values, that door opens way faster. And so I look at you as one of these early adopters of the creative communication in the industry. And it's great to see that it works. What's anything that you can think of that's like been a terrible disaster that didn't work at all? Because failure is what we learn from, not really so much about success.
Nothing's a failure. I mean, I love failures because you learn from them. But I've had some like messy podcasts for sure that like my tech wasn't working, and I was sitting there like, "Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?" And turns out I was live. I've a lot of
that was all scripted. That was all intentional. Don't play that down.
Sorry. A lot of posts will tank. It's and LinkedIn is coming up with new algorithms and all that stuff, which is kind of annoying as well. But I think just putting out content on a semi-regular basis that is somewhat educational or entertaining, that's all that matters, because not everything's going to do great. Not everybody's going to see every post. Yeah. I will say people in my company get annoyed with me because I'm always like, okay, you guys, we're going to do this TikTok video this week. And then the time comes and everybody's like, oh no.
We changed our mind. We don't want to do that.
We don't know how to dance. There's no way we can do that.
I've never done. All right. So are you on TikTok? Is that one of the things that you do?
I am kind of on TikTok. Like I'm on TikTok just to record the videos and edit, and then I save it, and then I don't go on TikTok again. But I randomly like went semi-viral, I guess you'd call it, on TikTok when I moved to Chicago. So I had a bunch of videos because I was looking at apartments, and so I'm like, I don't know what this TikTok is, but I'm gonna post and have everybody vote. So I posted up like 5 or 6 videos of apartments I was seeing, and then I had the TikTok world vote which one I should live in. And
did you follow what they said?
Yeah. The first one got like, I had to hide it because I'm like, oh shoot, now I have work things on here.
People know where I live.
Yeah, true. The first one got like 500,000 likes or more.
Wow.
I think more than that.
What's the conversion rate to likes in dollars?
0.
Is there one? Oh, dang it. Okay.
I mean, for me, that's
spectacular. That is spectacular. Okay, so there's some comments here. I'm going to throw them up here so we can look at them just briefly. As Trey Grigg says, every week is we're on the streets amateur hour. Of course, that's not true. But as he mentions, after that, power is just getting started, just starting. That's the big challenge. Graham has a great quote here. Turning those into relatable moments is a great icebreaker. I think that your story just there about the TikTok and getting voted to the apartment you live in, that's a great icebreaker. And then Robert Powell. I love Sage's content on LinkedIn. Y'all don't come off as marketing noobs at all. That's instinct.
Thanks, Robert.
You cannot.
We're not.
You can't teach instinct. You might not have a degree in marketing, but you have instinct. And that's really all that matters. And Chris Jolly, is that the Armchair Attorney? It certainly is. I did trademark that name. That's why it's so special to me. All right, let's talk about some. I like alliteration. So the story goes, I went online on GoDaddy and said, does Armchair Attorney exist as a website? And no one had it. So I bought that. And then I made a company after that fact. Start with a good domain name. That's my advice to any new company.
I mean, that's a good strategy.
Now, Graham had that quote about icebreakers. I want to talk about an icebreaker you shared with me just a little bit ago before we went online. I don't follow reality TV. Not as much as I should, apparently. Tell me a little bit about reality TV, Abby, and your experience with that.
Okay, I know most of the people here hate reality TV, or maybe your wives watch it or whatever, and you catch some snippets. There might be some females that actually watch reality TV, but it's so addicting because it's real. It's like semi-real life. So it's like kind of like you're stepping into these people's situations, and it's just really interesting.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, what you specifically, decided to try to apply to one of these shows. So I would like you, if you're so willing, to kind of tell us a little bit about that experience. What was that
okay.
like?
So I was reached out to by Married at First Sight, and
Married at First Sight. Go on.
Yes, I actually dated somebody that was on the show, and he was pegged as a villain. And I guess he kind of was.
Okay. Yeah,
in real life. But anyway, someone reached out to me on Instagram and said, hey, Married at First Sight is coming to Nashville. We'd love for you to apply. It's like, okay, sure. I basically say yes to everything, by the way. I was like, yeah, I won't apply. What's the worst case scenario? So we went through 3 interview processes. I had to do an extremely embarrassing executive producer interview where they ask you questions and then they're recording it. So when you say the questions back, you have to, or, say your answer, you have to say the question back. So it'd be like, what are you looking for in a guy? And I'd have to be like, well, I'm looking for blah, 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 blah. And
it's an interview. That makes sense.
Yeah. Except I would say some things and they'd be like, ooh, that's good. Now say that again with more energy. And so like one of the things
real life.
One of the things I had to re-say was, my name is Abby and I'm looking for a country boy. And I'm like, no!
Oh, would that have been your persona?
I don't know. That's the thing.
The people watching this right now, and I want to emphasize this, the person that I'm speaking to, Abby, could have been, and probably should have been, and could still be, a reality TV star. Would you have gone through with this marriage at first sight if it was conducive to the show?
At first I was like, no, I don't think I would actually do it. But I talked to my mom and my sister, and they were like, yeah, you should just do it. You could just, you can get a divorce because the way the show goes, you get married at first sight. It's like a team of experts match you. So it's not just random. You go through like hundreds of tests. So I've been failing in that realm on my own. So I'm like, maybe I do need an expert to help me.
Yeah.
And then you do 8 weeks with them. You go to like a vacation, your honeymoon, and then you move in together for 8 weeks. And then after the 8 weeks, you can get divorced.
Is it like a no-fault divorce? Or
I think so. Yeah, I think it's pretty easy.
Okay, if you would have had that conversation with Sage Frayne saying, hey, I love the job. Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. Let's dive into that. How did that go? It's like, that's not the normal, hey, I need to go attend to this thing in a couple weeks. I have a family event or reunion or something. What was that conversation like?
I talk about it all the time because I've applied for a couple other shows as well. And they're totally cool as long as I name dropped Sage Frayne a couple times. So if you guys ever see my reality TV show, I'll be like, yeah, I work for a company called Sage Frayne and we do this, this, and this. If anybody is looking
for help. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
What I love about it. So that's real leadership. I mean, this is the fun joke aside is that you want your employees and your teammates to be passionate about the things that they do, and you want them to be creative and be their authentic selves. Charlie Stafford talks about this all the time. You want your authentic selves to come to the office, and the fact that your company is so interested in you being able to pursue these ventures is fascinating, amazing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the big screen soon, because this is a lost opportunity for this other reality television show. I think there's more to come on this. Are you still applying for
Yeah.
some?
No one's reached out to me in a while, but about 2 months ago, a girl reached out to me about a new show that isn't out yet called Short Kings and Tall Queens. And I didn't know what the show was about. So I was like, oh, yeah, I'll apply. I thought it was, the struggles of being a tall, I'm 5'11", so struggles of dating as a tall person.
Absolutely.
And then they have got shorter guys that are,
I'm 5'6". I know this life. I've been in this experience. That's phenomenal.
So, yeah, but actually it was about matching the tall girls with the short guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm like, whatever.
It's an unmet category. It's an unmet need. There's no doubt about that. Now we have some more comments. I'm going to throw them up here briefly. Lauren Began, the maritime professor, Squall Strategies. She is big on Kardashians. Are you a Kardashians fan?
I haven't. I never got into them, and now I feel like it's too late to start watching because there's like 10 seasons, or actually there's like 20 seasons. I don't know. But
are you into
I watch a show here and there.
What about like Succession? Have you watched that program? That's not reality.
Yes,
but
I love Succession.
So good. What do you think's going to happen? I love Kendall. I think Kendall could have been a good leader. I do. I think it's going to be, I don't know.
I don't know.
Roman? It can't be Roman. It's not going to be Shiv. I like Shiv. She's had no experience. I don't think
it's going to be Kendall because they've kind of played him in the last season as the leader, and now they need a new person. I think it's going to be Shiv.
I see. Okay, I'm not going to disagree with you there. I do think Roman could be a good CEO, and I could see Kendall is a very good COO. He's good at execution. He's not really good at ideas, but I think he can execute, but I have no idea. Oh, we have, here's David. We're good with it. They accept this. The marketing would take a hit.
Yeah. That's my COO.
Thank you for joining us, David. I love your company. It is phenomenal. I will do whatever I can to boost you guys up in any way that I can. Graham, again, the name Sage Freight goes pretty far in Nashville lately in terms of social currency. That's awesome. Sage
Graham
Freight.
Is such a good guy. He was just in the office today as well. He brought us down.
Really? Is he with Reliance Partners? Is that who am I right there? I love Reliance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I absolutely love insurance. So I began as a lawyer practicing in insurance defense and insurance subrogation. So anybody who's in the insurance world, insurance is sexy. It is so cool. I love insurance, but freight's pretty cool as well. And we got Chelsea here. Never too late to watch the Kardashians on Hulu. Maybe take some time off and just get caught up.
I might have
I'm sure there's like Spark Notes you could read through that would catch you up on everything.
Yeah.
What else do you watch? You watch anything else that's really interesting?
It's like it goes from one spectrum all the way to the other. So my other spectrum is like documentaries, informational stuff. I love anything like that like teaches you something. Like, Absolutely. Have you seen? I think it's called The Future. Something about the future on Netflix, and it basically goes into like what to expect, and all these buildings that have everything included. You have the farm basically, so you go down in a huge high rise and pick your groceries, and there's a concert hall there's basketball courts, like everything in one building, and then like the outside is greenery. I don't know, it's just very interesting to me.
I love space documentaries. I love thinking like in about 1 billion years, the sun will have expanded so large that we have encompassed the orbit of the Earth. And then it's gone. It's all done. So like if you go into every day thinking, someday the sun's going to destroy everything, you kind of don't have those many regrets, those worries. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Jason's got a good point here about ice road truckers. You ever watch that?
Oh yeah. My dad always used to watch that.
Really? Well, what is your dad? Tell me about your father.
My dad is like typical salt of the earth Wisconsin dude. He grew up basically in poverty. Never had a dad, and he started working early, and then he worked at a paper mill for 25 years. and him and my mom kind of started dabbling in real estate. So I moved every couple of years growing up to a new house because they would move to a new house, and all really nice houses, don't get me wrong. Move to a new house, fix it up, and sell it. And they've kind of created a, I don't want to say, I don't know. They created a LLC, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically, kind of like a company.
Yeah, a company that owns real estate, rents it out or leases it out. Absolutely.
Yeah, but
That's
some
awesome.
crazy stories with that as well. I mean, they're
really real estate. Oh, yeah, I have no doubt.
A lot. They bought a lot of stuff at the sheriff's sale, and then they bring me and my sister to come look at the house as soon as they bought it. Multiple times we've had crazy stories. Like one time, because when you buy a house at a sheriff's sale, you have no idea what you're getting.
Yeah, you're buying a tax liability typically, and you're like, okay, I'll take this. This sounds wonderful.
Yeah. So like we had one instance where everything was left in the house. It was a foreclosure, obviously, and there's just piles of cat crap all throughout the house. And then we're like, okay, this is odd. Then we go in the barn, and it was like all the animal carcasses. Oh. So my sister and I, shoveling animal carcasses when we were, I don't know, probably 12, 13 years old.
It teaches you grit.
Yeah, definitely very hardworking parents. I'm guessing, some of that has rubbed off on me. I tend to think of myself as a semi-hardworking person, I guess.
Well, it's the work that you do and the work that you see your parents do that kind of helps shape your own life. And so my father's rule when I was growing up was you either do a sport during high school or you work. You can't not do that. And so the first jobs I had, I worked at a toy store, KB Toys, and then I cleaned ponds at the Chicago Botanic Gardens. And to your point of like dead animals and things, I love the garden. It's big in Glencoe, Illinois, not far from the north side of Chicago. And my job was to scoop seaweed and algae. And you'd do this, and you'd get dead raccoons and dead birds and dead fish. And it's like you get used to it. Like, okay, that's just kind of what life is. But the fact that you've had these experiences probably helps shape your ability to be effective, especially with your father working at a paper mill. So like, that's a shipper, right? That's what a shipper could be. And so what it's like to be in that side, like, that empathy. It's hard to teach that. Has that been helpful for your own careers, like understanding the mentality or the persona of the person across the table from you?
Yeah, I think so. 100%. My dad didn't do anything, like he was never in an office or anything. He wasn't in transportation. He was literally in the grinder room throwing logs into a huge machine. But fun fact, I actually reached out to the paper mill that he used to work at. And I was like, hey, my dad used to work there. Do you need help with your transportation? And they gave me an opportunity. We didn't find a carrier for that opportunity, but yeah, these types of things, like finding those little areas of connection with a shipper are so important.
Absolutely. What's your favorite stuff to ship? What's the sweet spot that you like to move?
At Sage, we are in the food and beverage space primarily. We have, some big name customers, and we're very good at it. So
is that temperature control stuff for the most part?
It's dry and reefer.
Okay. Are you working with Dan, the driver row? Are you talking to Dan?
I'm not sure. So he's an owner operator, I think. I think he gets his own loads.
He does, but he'll work with brokers. Dan, if you're watching, we'll hook you up. I hope. I want to see that combo video. That's what I want to see. I want to see that combo.
Yes. I have seen his post though, because he is like our ideal driver where, he gets to the shipper early. He helps offload if he needs to. If he's sitting there for an hour, he's not like freaking out that he's not unloaded yet. He just seems like a great guy that gets it. And, he puts his head down and goes to work.
I'm a trailer guy. So every time I see his trailer, I'm like, the chem light is not scratched. It's not torn. It's not patched. The aluminum floor is pristine. When I had a maintenance shop, we used to get temperature control trailers from a grocery store, and in the grooves would be maggots, and we have to pressure wash the maggots out. So like, I see a guy who takes care of his equipment. I go, that is a driver that I would love to work with, because that's someone who really values their customers' freight and values their own equipment. And that's hard. That's hard to
Mhm.
find sometimes. I mean, we got
because
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's hard to find those types of drivers that really take pride in what they do and in their equipment, I think.
Yeah, 100% right. I mean, we're going to have Brake Safety Week, end of August, in a couple weeks from now. And if I'm not mistaken, last year when they did this, and it's a week-long inspection, and they do it all across North America, something like 12% of vehicles fail. And it's just absurd. Like, you have this idea that these vehicles are all maintained really well. And this is when they know the inspections are coming. There are fleets that just park their stuff going, we'll wait. We'll wait till the inspectors go away. We don't want to deal with that. It's no good. It's no good. I want to know about the Nashville Transportation Club. What is the Nashville Transportation Club?
So we are a group of industry professionals that just get together in order to educate, empower, and network. So we started in 2019. Brandon Bay, if you know him, he was the first president. And then John Brewer he's at CKE at restaurants. He's all over LinkedIn as well.
Oh yeah, I know John. John's awesome. Okay, absolutely.
Yeah. So they kind of teamed up and started this. I randomly found out about them. So I caught I think it was their second meetup, and I have been with them ever since. So we just had a big golf scramble that was really awesome. We have a happy hour coming up here August 2nd in Nashville in Cool Springs, if anybody here is in the Nashville area. But it's been so awesome for me because, like, outside of LinkedIn, this is another, space to just meet new people and talk about transportation.
Yeah.
And you
build a community there. Is it restricted to trucking professionals like brokers and carriers, or do you have shippers in there? Or is it just anybody who likes transportation?
Oh yeah, we'd love more shippers. But yeah, literally anybody that has anything to do with transportation, or even wants to learn about it, or wants to learn about jobs in transportation. We want to have like a combined job fair, I think probably after Labor Day-ish time, where we partner with some of these large corporations in Nashville and just have like a mega job fair with a couple other brokerages. So any brokerages or like carriers that are watching, check out National Transportation Club, or come and let's talk about a job fair. Because I think these types of resources will really help. We partner with Lipscomb and some other colleges around here, but getting everybody, all the good companies together, so no one's confused when they get out of college and are fresh and don't know where to go or what resources to utilize for a supply chain major.
That's a really interesting point, because there's so few people realize just how expansive supply chain is. Like, it is all of the things. Everything that is bought, made, distributed, it's coming on a truck. It's coming in some sort of transportation setup. And there's so many different roles, whether it's, driving a truck or operating a forklift or brokering freight. There's so many opportunities. What I love recently is this movement called the End Non-Competes movement. I think Steam Logistics has been a big pusher of this early thing. But the idea, as I understand it, is the fighting against this use of non-competition agreements in our industry. Now, outside of supply chain, there's probably between 30 and 40 million people in the country who have signed some version of a non-competition agreement. And I find them awful. I had dealt with them myself. And it's great to make sure that people know, there are options outside of this industry where you don't have to sign these non-competition agreements. Do you have any thoughts on this? Oh, and before I jump to your answer, National Transportation Club, here is the website from Graham.
Thanks, Graham.
Thank you for plugging it, my friend. I just love that people want to get more education out there in terms of what the supply chain can do. What are your thoughts? You love non-competes? Are they the best things ever?
I think non-competes are pretty silly. I totally understand non-solicits. Like, yeah, it makes sense. You can't just land a customer here and bring them to company B and then bring them to company C and just take them everywhere you go. That's fine. But non-competes, if you're really I feel like if you're a company and you're so insecure about your people leaving, there's probably other issues you need to deal with first.
That's right. If the only reason they're staying is because they have a non-competition agreement, you probably don't want them on your team. And the nice about non-solicits, as you mentioned, with a non-solicit, nothing stops your former colleagues or your former customers to say, hey, can I come work with you? because it doesn't affect them. It means you can't go out and reach. I still think people
Right.
should get paid separately for them, but that's another, question altogether. I remember reading stories. Actually, this was in Chicago. Nordstrom Rack had this thing called Trunk Club. You ever remember Trunk Club at all?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the Trunk Club designers, they made them sign non-competition agreements. So this, these guys and gals that are making $20 an hour or less and making design choices for people to wear, they were getting sued for going to a competitor for Trunk Club, and they got knocked down. But my goodness, the overuse of these things is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Just trying to control people.
Well, it's all at will too. It's like, hey, listen, it's like dating somebody. I want you. We're not going to work out. We're not a good match. We're going to go our separate ways. But just make sure that you don't see anyone else like me for the next 2 years. It's absurd. It's just crazy.
Right.
You can't do that in your personal life. Why would the business get to do that in their own stuff? It's ridiculous. So what got you to begin with, like, wanting to get into supply chain, like to do this thing? Because you see Boris's memes, and it's an exhausting business. It's not easy. So why would you think this is the thing you wanted to get into?
I didn't know what it was when I got into it.
That's the answer.
That's why
I had no idea.
I didn't. I remember. So my friend started working. I was a restaurant manager. And I just moved Demas's.
Okay.
It's like a family chain-ish restaurant. It was insanely busy. We had a downtown Nashville location, and there'd be like 2-hour waits every night.
Wow.
But I went to school for public relations, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just move to Nashville and get a job in PR at a music label. Easy. And then of course you get down here and you have thousands of people that are willing to work for nothing to get their foot in the door, and couldn't do that. So restaurant management for a little bit, and just sucks your life out of you.
I was a waiter at Texas Roadhouse, and I will actually agree. I moved to go work at Best Buy selling TVs instead.
I think everybody should have a foundation of being in the service industry.
Yeah.
But for a lifelong career, it takes a toll on you. But so then one of the other managers came to Calvary, and one day I went in for an interview because I'm like, I need a change. And that was it. I had an interview with Bob King, and he's like, do you know what logistics is? And I'm like, getting things from
is it trains?
Yeah. Ocean shipments and
it's those boxes, right? Those big boxes, those 20-foot equivalent units. Yeah.
So that was it. And then I started, and I was like, oh, okay. And
what did you start off doing?
So we all started at like bottom operations level, which I think was super important, especially for me being in sales, just being able to understand what I'm talking about to a point. That was a while back, but I have that foundation. I've booked trucks, I've set appointments, I've done all that stuff already as a foundation. And then they pegged me for sales kind of early on. So I was fast tracked to inside sales probably after like 3 months.
That's awesome. That's so, I just, the story of getting into the supply chain, most people don't realize, like, you're probably already doing it. You don't realize it. Like, if you're a restaurant person, you're dealing with the trucking companies already. You're talking about when shipments come in, damaged product, all these different things. You're already kind of doing it. And then you get into it, you're like, oh my goodness, this is like a giant Rube Goldberg machine. And like, if any single piece fails, the whole thing just collapses. And it's fascinating. James Cade has a comment on the brake safety inspections. And it just, as we talk about this, I'm always passionate to grab something that talks about maintenance. Man, you got to maintain your equipment. How do you talk with your carriers about maintenance? Do you ever talk with your carriers, like, other than FMCSA scorecard data or other tools? Like, is maintenance something you're concerned with as a broker?
Yeah, I think for sure. I don't personally talk to many carriers about that, but our brokers, they also are creating relationships with these carriers. So it's important for us that we are putting good equipment on our customers' freight, because at the end of the day, the customer is working with us. They're not working with the carrier that we hired to take this load. So yeah, we keep up with all that, and make sure they're fully vetted before, we have a bad situation if someone's equipment is not up to date.
And now back to the restaurant piece. I do 100% agree with you. It is important for everybody to work something in service at some point, because you'll find, at least from my experience, you'll learn to be patient, because the customers are not. And you're like, I don't
Oh
want to
my
ruin
gosh.
someone's day. Like my old rule is, if I saw your cup was less than a third full, or right about a third, I'm filling it up. I'm getting your refill. You're not going to ask me. I'm going to anticipate this. And then when I'd have little kids that would come, I had a Blues Clues notebook, and I would say, let me get out my handy dandy notebook. And I would flip it up, and then I would do the thing. So it's tough. And I think retail's similar. Did you ever do retail?
I did. That was one of my first jobs. I did recovery team at JCPenney, where it was during Christmas season, and literally my only job was folding and putting things back in their place for 8 hours. And
oh man,
gosh, that was a hard job. That was really difficult. Like, I mean,
that's a job a robot should do, isn't it?
Listen, if you think time is moving too fast, just get a job in retail and do that for 8 hours. And you'll be set. Like,
there was nothing better than the day after Thanksgiving at 4 a.m, showing up at KB when we had the for real cats. And people were like, I really want that cat that's animatronic and seems real. And I'd say, I only have 20. And they'd say, well, there's 40 people in the line. Am I going to get one? And I'd say, probably not. And they'd say, I am so angry. And just understand those expectations. I mean, the internet destroyed KB. We couldn't compete in that world, but those were good times. Those were really good times.
Wait, the ones where their eyes blink and the mouth.
That's
opens?
the Furby. So Furby was big too. So the big toys, For Real Cat, Furby, and Tickle Me Elmo. Those are the things that people get mad about. We also had a Barbie doll named Midge, and she had a detachable pregnant belly. And so she'd have a baby, and you could attach the belly. Oh, it's this. If you see this toy today, it's hundreds of dollars. It's because it's so rare. Because what people did was they saw the toy and they said, "You're teaching my children about babies, and this is absurd." Yeah. And it got pulled. Like, I got so many complaints. Like, ma'am, I just work at a toy store. I can't help you.
I didn't create this product.
I didn't create it. I didn't source it. I just put it on the shelf. I'm sorry. Right. But we're the front end workers. We're the ones who get screamed at. Which is why transportation is good. It's a great place to be. All right, we're getting close to the end here, so we're going to have some lightning round questions. It's time goes by. We're having fun. So anyone in the chat right now, if you have questions for Abby or for myself, please toss them in the chat. And I have a couple questions I have prepared. So I'm going to go through this and get your thoughts. Do you have streaming service? What streaming services do you have? Do you have streaming services like for video content?
Yep, I do. Which ones do you have? Netflix, Hulu, and
Disney Plus?
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Okay. Have you seen The Boys, by the way?
Yeah, a couple episodes.
Okay. Yeah, my wife hates it. I love it. That's okay. All right.
Yeah, lightning round. It's a guy show.
It is. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right. Should Microsoft buy Netflix? Any opinion on that?
Yes.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Should Elon be forced to buy Twitter?
No.
Ooh, why not? Okay, we're going to pause. Okay. Oh, hold on. We're going to get Lauren's question. Lightning round. What is your favorite restaurant in Nashville right now?
That's such a hard question because I feel like I haven't even tried any of the new restaurants, but I did go to the 1230 Club downtown at 5th and Broad, and that's really great. They have a great rooftop. But the best steak in Nashville is Cane Prime, hands down. I don't care what anybody says.
All right. And a side note for the folks on this thing, Abby and I were talking beforehand. We've both been to the Untitled speakeasy style place in the River North. Highly recommend. I think they have food now too. I'm not positive.
They do. Yeah, I ate there.
I did a whiskey tasting. It was fantastic. Okay, cats or dogs? What do you like better?
Dogs. I have a dog.
There you go. Mine's sitting right on the ground. She's very tired. She's my office mate. All right. Next question. Deep dish or thin crust?
Thin crust all the way. I love
for you
the thinnest crust that can possibly be made.
Interesting. Okay. And then Nashville or Chattanooga? That's a good one.
I love Chattanooga.
I've never been there.
I would say live in Nashville, visit Chattanooga.
Okay. All right. I'll take it. I'll take it. I am so excited. Oh, we got people are now talking about steak, so we're gonna humor the steak fans. Eddie V's.
I
Never
haven't
had
been
it.
there.
I've never been to Nashville. I've been to Nashville a couple of times. Okay, next one. Gibson's Guitar Factory in Nashville.
No, but my friend Nixon he used to be in a band called Frame and Hanley, and we shipped a couple of their guitars at my old company. So I guess not
Nice.
really a fun fact, but
But I had fun. Okay, what did you play? You said you went to Nashville. Are you a singer or are you a musician? What do you do? What's that one?
I don't do those things. I mean, I used to sing. I sang growing up, and then I had a PTSD moment. I sang the national anthem for a AAA baseball team in my hometown, and my voice cracked. So I don't do that anymore.
Did anyone get upset, or did it more just internally?
No, oh my god, it was just internal. I won't even like my mom recorded it, and I wouldn't even back because I'm like, it was literally like, like it was bad. It was a bad crack.
Okay. So I'm going to give you free, unsolicited, non-expert marketing advice. Get that video and you put that up and you just let or any single one of the interview tapes you have with Married at First Sight. I think those would be,
oh my gosh,
absolutely. They would be phenomenal. They'd be phenomenal. Okay. That's the questions that I had set up. If there's any more in the chat, I'll look, but let me ask you this. Where can people find you? What social media do you do? You mentioned Instagram. What other ones are you exploring?
LinkedIn for anything work related. And then I'm just Abby Hafenbredl. And then, I'm on Instagram. And I oversee all of Sage Freight's socials as well. So you can reach out.
Do they do Twitter? Do you guys do Twitter now?
No, I'm not a Twitter person.
Neither was I.
But it's coming back, right? Because it was kind of like, I feel like it was hot at first, and then everybody's like, no, we only care what celebrities say. But now it's like
I want to say it's on the ascend, but that's probably only because I recently joined it, and everything that I've seen is that I'm usually right when it comes to social media. No, I'm not. What's the craziest thing you've done until now? I don't know if that's professionally or not. How about professionally? I think that's probably a good way to look at it.
Craziest thing professionally?
Yeah. I'll start. I had a job and I just quit it without a plan afterwards. That's probably the craziest thing.
Okay.
Professionally.
Okay. Yeah. Like not freight professionally. I got suckered into one of those timeshare cancellation companies. So I did sales for that type of company, and they didn't pay me for 4 months, and they kept stringing me along. And that was the first time I was like, I'm going to stand up for myself. And I told off the owner, and now I see their freaking ads on TikTok. They must pay people to talk about it. But such a scammy, sleazy company.
Timeshares, have they been displaced by things like Airbnb and Vrbo? Is that fair at this point? I don't think so.
I think the older generation is still timeshare, like 50 and up still is heavy on timeshares. But it would be insane. They would have me try and find people with as much debt as possible. And these people will just upgrade, and they're in like $200,000 of debt. They're paying double their mortgage for these timeshares every month. It was insane. The idea of what we were doing was great, because these poor people, and you can't get rid of them because they just are inherited down to your kids when you die. But anyway, okay. So that was professionally. Do you want to do personally? Okay. Let's do you.
Sure. Personally. Yeah, let's do that. Absolutely. I would think, personally, the craziest thing I've ever done, I'm trying to think it's going to be a good rate. So it's not necessarily bad. I used to climb buildings. I would climb up the back of retail stores with a picnic basket or a backpack. And I would sit up on top of the roof like of a Walmart or a Toys R Us, and I would just have a snack. It was completely harmless because it was just me climbing up a building. And that was really fun. Someone learned that I was doing it, and they mirrored my thing, and they got up on top of the building. They started hitting golf balls in the parking lot. And so then the cops were like, you can't do this anymore. If they saw you, you'd be in trouble. So I don't do that anymore. The other one's a close second. And if Gunnar Miller's watching, I hope he appreciates this. I did backyard wrestling, and I also did like fight club stuff. and I fractured my patella, my kneecap, by being slammed against a concrete slab. So that was probably a mistake.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I heard that in my head.
Let's talk about injuries. I once had a wooden swing hit me in the mouth and destroy all 4 of my front teeth before they had the permanent ones were there. And I spent the entire night, or at least a couple hours, with a flashlight crying, looking for those teeth for the tooth fairy. So we've had
you have fake teeth?
No, these are all real now. These were kid teeth that got smashed out. So for 2 years, I had no front teeth as a kid. It was exciting. Yeah. Wow, what about you?
Good stories.
I've hurt myself a lot, Abby.
I've done a lot of crazy things, I will say. Probably the craziest thing was I went between my junior and senior year of college. I went and lived in France as an au pair for
a
few months. Mm-hmm.
You've done a lot of interesting things. How was France like? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, it was great. I lived right outside of Geneva, Switzerland. So if you guys have heard of CERN, I basically drove past CERN every day to take my kids to school. That's awesome. It was so beautiful. We went to, every weekend I was in Geneva. My host family was Cocoa Puff, but but yeah. It was pretty cool.
That's phenomenal. Well, we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to go ahead and read the riddle one more time, and you can take a guess. We can see if the audience has any answers, and I'll thank you for being here. But give me 1 second. I'll go through the thing one last time. The beginning of eternity, the end of time and space, the beginning of every end, and the end of every place. What is it? Do you have any idea? Any guesses, Abby?
I know it.
Don't you? You know it. She knows it. How about you?
I know it.
Watching? It's very simple.
Somebody said there was one person that said they knew it.
I know there. It's back at the very beginning. I gotta scroll up. Michael, if you're still here, what's the answer? Buddy?
Michael,
put in the chat if you know it. Oh, someone wanted. Oh yes, national anthem. Oh, TikTok. I'll join TikTok if you do that. I'm not on TikTok. Britton Ladd has suggested that I do TikTok, and if Britton Ladd has suggested it, I probably ought to do it. All right, I'll tell you the answer, everybody. The answer is the letter E. The beginning of eternity, the end of time and space, the beginning of every end and the end of every place. Abby Hafenbredl. That's the way I will pronounce it. I think that's the right way for me, at least.
Yes.
It has been an absolute pleasure having you on. I am a huge fan. One more time, where can people find you and how can they engage with you in this crazy world we live in?
LinkedIn is probably the best place. So you can send me a message on LinkedIn. If you want to email me, my email is really easy, abby@sagefreight.com, or check out our website. And I'm also on Instagram at abby.haf. But I don't really post any work stuff on my Instagram, on my personal Instagram. You can
I'll follow you.
Too many things. What am I going to write about? Hi.
No, you take
that would be my. That would be me.
Just GIFs. That's all you got to do.
Oh, is that what it is now?
It's all GIFs and memes. I don't have any questions, but I really enjoyed listening to Matt and Abby. I laughed a lot. Best for all of you. Oh, thank you, Alina. It has been awesome. As always, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to kick you out for a second, Abby, and we'll talk in a moment. Thank you all for joining us today on this episode of the Armchair Attorney featuring Abby Hafenbredl. I enjoyed our conversation. I learned a lot of interesting things. I have more questions for her, which we'll have to get to in a future episode. But in the meantime, please hit her up. Please look into Sage Freight. It sounds like a phenomenal organization. I've enjoyed watching them over the last couple of years as they've grown the business, and I hope you do too. And I'm going to now hit the button. I'm going to bring you back, Abby. We're going to say, okay, bye, everybody. We're going to hit the end broadcast button.